Today, we're looking at something that's making some serious noise, pun intended, in the open earbud market. These are the Cleer Audio Arc 4 Plus. It's a bit of a mouthful. Now, if you've been following the channel, you know that open earbuds are everywhere right now. Shokz, Soundbeats, Huawei, Soundcore, everywhere. Everyone is doing it. But Cleer Audio claims they've built the ultimate version. We're talking THX certification, real Dolby Atmos hardware, and a spec sheet that looks more like a home theater system than a pair of earbuds. In fact, the hype is pretty real. The Cleer Audio Arc 4 series were recently selected as one of the best earbuds by Billboard during CES 2026. I wasn't there personally, but hopefully we'll get to go next year. They retail for $129.99, which firmly places them in the mid-range category. This is actually pretty aggressive positioning when you consider the $300 price tags we see from premium competitors like Shokz and Huawei and such like. But are these actually good, or is it just marketing? I've been testing these extensively to see how they stack up in the real world. Let's dive in. Welcome back to MazTechCentral, where I like to keep tech simple and accessible for everyone. Full disclosure before we start, Cleer Audio did send me these out for review. However, no money's changed hands and they aren't seeing this video before you do. And as always, the creative input and opinions here are 100% my own. I actually didn't realize how big Cleer Audio were until I went to Shenzhen. They're literally everywhere. At every tech shop you go to, they have Cleer Audio there. So it intrigued me. I wanted to understand how good these earbuds were. And that's why I decided to test these, because I've tested premium range and a budget range. And I wanted to see how this mid-range kind of stacked up against those. First, let's talk design. These are an earhook style open earbud design. Each bud weighs 10.8 grams. They feature a flexible hinge design to clamp gently but securely on your ear. They are IPX7 water and sweat resistant, so you can submerge them in 1 meter of water for up to 30 minutes. For me, knowing I can use this in heavy rain and at the gym without them conking out on me is good enough. I'm not going to go and submerge these in water or use them in the shower. One thing I noticed immediately, and I think this is key, is the physical footprint. When you put these on, they actually cover a significant portion of your ear. Unlike those tiny clip-on buds or the ones that sit way behind your ear, these hover right over the canal, which only gives a small gap. I have a theory, and this extra coverage is why they sound so good, which we'll get to in a minute. It doesn't close you off completely from the real world, but it feels much more substantial than the competition out there. Cleer is using a new eczema spray coating this year. It resists fingerprints and scratches, but gives it a soft skin-like feel. They also angled the driver by 16 degrees to point them better directly into your ear. Just one warning, while they fit great on the ear, the magnets inside the charging case feel a bit weak. You really have to make sure they are seated correctly to charge, or you might end up with a dead earbud. And speaking of the case, I have a bone to pick with the charging case. When you open the case, the left earbud is on the right side, and the right earbud is on the left side. It's completely crossed. Every time I take them off to put them away, I have to do this mental gymnastics or cross my hands to get them into the correct slots. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but combined with the weak magnet, it makes the whole experience of putting them away much more fiddlier than it needs to be. Now, let's talk about controls, because this is where things get interesting. You have your standard touch controls, but you also have head gesture controls. You might know the Apple feature where you nod to answer a call or shake to reject. These have that too, and it works great. But then there is the track skipping. You can set it so that moving your head to the side and back skips back a track, and moving your head to the other side and back goes forward a track. The idea is cool, especially if you want to save using the touch controls. But in practice, I've been wearing these for a while, and every time I look over my shoulder to check traffic, it changes the song. I find myself walking down the street, accidentally skipping tracks and then trying to correct it. Honestly, you end up looking a bit crazy, like you have a nervous twitch or something, but it works really well. You can even set it to look twice over to change the track. And it looks a bit weird, but it works really well. But just be prepared for some accidental triggers if you're an active person who actually looks around their environment. Under the hood, the tech is quite solid. It has Bluetooth 5.4 with multi-point codecs. It supports AptX Lossless, huge for a mid-range bud, I think. The battery has 34 hours total, so it's 9 hours in the buds and 25 hours in the case. If you're outside the US, I found this bug where the Cleer Plus app might not recognize the specific model. The fix is to temporarily change your phone's region settings to United States. Once you do that, the app detects the Arc 4 Plus immediately, and then you're free to change it back to your normal region. Oh, by the way, there's no wireless charging in these buds, but for a mid-range model in 2026, it's fine. It has USB-C, so that's perfect. Okay, this is the main event. Cleer is marketing these as THX certified, with hardware-tuned Dolby Atmos. My honest reaction? I didn't realize these would sound so full. I was genuinely pleasantly surprised. Usually, open-ear buds sound a bit thin or tinny, but these have a richness to them that rivals some of the premium flagship open-ear buds I've tested. So why do they sound this good? I think it comes down to two things. The drivers. They use a massive 16.2mm driver, plus physics. Going back to what I said earlier, remember how I said they cover more of your ear physically? I guess you're losing less bass to the wind compared to smaller buds, but also the Dolby factor. The Arc 4 Plus is hardware tuned for Dolby Atmos for music and movies. They work really well, but for me, the head tracking feels a bit unnecessary, especially when I'm just listening to YouTube music. But I think it's a good option to have for those who utilize it. To wrap up the real world experience, here's what you need to know. Noise levels. While they sound full, remember there's no active noise cancellation. You're still going to be able to hear the world around you. In really noisy environments, I found I had to turn the volume up quite a bit. But again, that's expected at this price point and the lack of ANC. Touch sensitivity. As I mentioned, if you aren't using the head gestures, the touch panels are very, very sensitive. So sometimes adjusting your glasses can sometimes pause your music, but it works really well because you don't have to touch it with so much pressure. Just a light tap or double tap will do it. The app gives you great equalizer options, but with the Atmos turned on, obviously you can't use those. But you have the option to customize it to your liking with the presets and custom EQ options. For a mid-range price of $129, the Cleer Arc Plus is obviously punching above its weight. For the pros, they sound surprisingly good, even to rival some of those premium brands out there. It has AptX Lossless and Auracast support. For those who don't know, you basically can tune in to hear public announcements on train stations and airports, even gyms where they can broadcast the TV channels directly into your earbuds. It has IPX7 waterproofing, which is great for rain and sweat resistance. For the cons, it doesn't have wireless charging. For those of you who like that sort of thing, will be disappointed. The head gestures can trigger accidentally, but I still think it's a cool feature if your hands are busy. The app region issue, which I ran into and I spoke about earlier, it's likely to be temporary and should be resolved by the time this launches in the UK by Q2 2026, as so I'm told by Cleer Audio. So make sure you stay tuned for that. If you want open ear awareness but don't want to sacrifice sound quality, I think these are actually a fantastic option. Just maybe turn off the head gestures if you're crossing the street. That's it for this review. Let me know in the comments, are you team open ear or team in ear? Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video and you genuinely found this useful. I'm Maz and this is MazTechCentral, where I like to make tech accessible and simple for everyone. Hope you enjoy this and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.